Hello, welcome to Levant TV Headlines. The United States has carried out its first airstrike on an Islamic State target in Syria after taking off from a Turkish airbase, as Turkey vowed it was ready to step up its own fight against jihadists. Iran said it will submit a new peace plan for war-ravaged Syria to the United Nations on the back of an international shift in favor of a political settlement. Egypt's affiliate of the Islamic State group has threatened to execute a Croatian kidnapped in Cairo last month within 48 hours if Muslim women jailed in Egypt are not freed. At least 4 people from the same family have been killed and 30 injured after an unexploded Israeli bomb from last year's war detonated in the city of Rafah on the Gaza Strip. And US President Barack Obama has made an aggressive case for a signature nuclear deal with Iran, telling wavering lawmakers that rejecting diplomacy would lead to war and destroy US credibility. And now let's have a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting from the UAE, the Khalij Times leads reporting that US drones and aircraft have begun arriving at a Turkish airbase close to the border with Syria, and an extensive fight against Daesh militants will soon begin. The paper also reports that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum has announced that the UAE Innovation Week will be held from November the 22nd to the 28th for private and public sectors to showcase their innovations in respective fields. From Beirut, the Daily Star leads reporting that the Free Patriotic Movement leader Michel Aoun has reportedly criticized Defense Minister Samir Mukbil's abrupt decision to keep the country's top army generals in their post, while his movement threatened to take escalatory steps against the decision. The paper also reports that Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif will visit Beirut next week to brief officials on the landmark nuclear deal between Tehran and world powers. The Egypt Independent leads reporting that Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir pardoned on Wednesday 101 Egyptian fishermen detained in Sudan over espionage charges. The paper also reports that a prominent radical Islamist cleric who once called for the destruction of the pyramids has died in prison in Egypt. And now papers here in London. The Independent leads reporting that a video has emerged of the Turkish husband and wife who shared their wedding feast with 4,000 Syrian refugees serving food in an act of kindness that made headlines around the world. Fethullah Ujmukoglu and Esra Polat from the border town of Kilish donated the savings their families had put together for the traditional 2-day party to share their wedding celebrations with refugees living nearby. The Guardian leads reporting that Britain has a responsibility to help Tunisia in the fight against terrorism, the country's Prime Minister has said, claiming the UK is partly to blame for the chaos in Libya following military intervention 4 years ago. Habib Sid warned against further military action in Libya, calling for a political solution in the war-torn country that has seen mounting extremist activity. The Telegraph leads reporting on Tom Fletcher, Her Majesty's ambassador to Lebanon's colourful valedictory notice after a 4-year posting. In contrast to the vast majority of articles written by serving ambassadors, most of which are studies in inoffensive blandness, Mr. Fletcher's punchy recollections on his time have proved a huge hit in Lebanon since he published them last week, with some Lebanese even suggesting he should lead the country. Now let's have a look at the top Middle East headlines in international papers. From Berlin, the Deutsche Welle reports that the United States on Wednesday for the first time struck an Islamic State target in Syria from an airbase in Turkey, signaling increased cooperation from Ankara in the fight against the militant group. The drone was launched from Turkey's southern Incirlik airbase, which Ankara recently agreed to open to the US military to use as a staging area for strikes against ISIS in Syria. And finally, the International New York Times reports that the Obama administration hopes that the nuclear deal as negotiated with Iran may one day lead to broader cooperation, but the State Department has cautioned Americans who think the reconciliation is already underway. The agency issued a traveling warning for US citizens wanting to travel to Iran, adding that dual national Iranian American citizens may encounter difficulty in departing Iran. That was it for today. For more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching and bye for now.